Hello and welcome to State of the Union. I'm Stefan Grobe in Brussels. When Ukrainians listen to European leaders talk about their support for the war effort, they have all the reason to be irritated by the lack of action. If irritated is the right word when you're in a bloody war of attrition with Russia. Not only is Hungary still blocking a 50 billion euro package on a European level, it's also the individual member states that produce a lot of words but chicken out when it comes to concrete commitment. This week, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz rang the alarm bells. With 17 billion euro, his country is the second biggest donor of military aid to Ukraine after the United States. If Europe wants to prevent a Russian victory, his colleagues better step up to the plate, he said.
So wichtig unser deutscher Beitrag ist, er allein wird nicht ausreichen, um die Sicherheit der Ukraine dauerhaft zu gewährleisten. Ich rufe deshalb die Verbündeten in der Europäischen Union auf, ihre Anstrengungen zugunsten der Ukraine ebenfalls zu verstärken. Die bisher von der Mehrzahl der EU-Mitgliedstaaten geplanten Waffenlieferungen für die Ukraine sind jedenfalls zu gering.
Who was Scholz talking about? He didn't name any names, but France, Italy and Spain combined only gave 1.6 billion euro in military aid to Ukraine. That's less than 1/10 of Germany's contribution. An embarrassing testimony to European solidarity. The man in charge of coordinating EU policy, facilitating decision-making and providing European solidarity is Charles Michel. As President of the European Council, representing the national governments, his job is to set the agenda, find compromise and unblock stalemates. Something he wasn't always successful in. Maybe that's the reason why he called it quit. This week, the former Belgian Prime Minister announced that he would resign to run for a seat in the European Parliament. Official Brussels was stunned. Michel himself sees it as an almost natural decision.
Ne pas être candidat aurait été une forme de fuite. Être candidat, c'est la volonté d'assumer. Pendant 4 ans, j'ai participé au cœur du Conseil européen à des décisions fondamentales pour les 450 millions de citoyens européens. Donc c'est normal de rendre compte, d'expliquer les décisions et d'expliquer ce que l'on veut pour l'avenir.
I must say I'm confused. So, you take responsibility by resigning and running for a totally different job in the European Parliament. Is that what you call accountability? What if you win? Would you want your old job back? I think we need to bring in someone who may have some answers and who knows a thing or two about the inner workings of Brussels. Joining me now is Doru Frantescu, CEO and founder of the research platform EU Matrix and one of the best election watchers in town. Welcome to the program. Great to see you.
Great to see you too. Thank you very much for the invitation.
So, politicians resign all the time, nothing unusual. Why does Charles Michel's resignation matter?
In this particular case, this matters because it triggers a whole chain reaction. Which we have seen has created a lot of agitation in Brussels and elsewhere in European capitals because the departure from the post of the president of the council leaves that position open theoretically for about 6 months at a very difficult time, very complicated times, which will be right after the European elections. It is when the European leaders need to agree on the next the composition of the European Commission, the next top posts, but also the next legislative agenda, the priorities. And in this particular case, the departure of Charles Michel would also create a sort of a power vacuum and a legal vacuum because in the absence of another person that would take up the presidency of the council, by default, the chair would go to the prime minister who holds the rotating presidency of the EU, in this case, Mr. Viktor Orban of Hungary, which, as we know, has had a difficult relation with Brussels over time. And this is what concerns some of the EU politicians, which are trying to find a solution for this not to happen.
Michel would be the first EU Council President to resign in order to run for Parliament. Doesn't that sound an odd signal about the importance of his job?
Well, in a way, yes, but not necessarily. I think the decision to run for the position in the parliament may also come as some sort of understanding that it would have been difficult for him to stay longer as president of the council anyway in the next mandate. He would have anyways have to have his job put on the table for a potential re-election this summer, when all of the positions of power in the EU institutions will be renegotiated by the political families and by the European government. So it was not certain anyways, or far from certain actually, that Charles Michel will stay on as president of the council.
All right, a lot of stuff to digest here. Doru Frantesco, CEO and founder of EU Matrix. Thanks for your insights and for coming on the show today.
Thank you very much. Anytime.
Of course, we will cover the European elections big time, and we will keep an eye on Charles Michel as well, hoping that his transfer to the parliament will not be a trip into the political cold. Speaking of cold, you think you've had enough of winter temperatures this week? Well, think again. These are pictures of the widest waterfall in Estonia on the Jägala River, about 50 meters large and 8 meters high. The recent frost has frozen most of the waterfall, providing locals with a spectacular opportunity to climb behind and between ice columns and walls that normally don't exist. At their own risk, of course. But as in politics, so in nature. You sometimes have to seize the moment when you think it's right. That's it for this edition. I'm Stefan Grobe. Thank you for watching. Have an excellent week.